Good afternoon, welcome to Rundlii Gaming. We're going to be doing another video on the game of Small World. This one you are selecting different races. This is actually the two-player map. There's also larger maps as well, which I can show you later in the video. And what you're going to be doing is conquering territory on the map itself. This is done over the course of 10 turns. Whoever has the most victory points, which in the case of victory points is actually coins. So whoever claims the most money at the end of the game itself will end up winning the game. And there's a few things that are going to matter depending on which race you are. There are going to be some different mountains here. So you usually can put down the mountain tokens. As well as there are going to be these little squares here for neutral populations. And it just makes it a little more difficult to actually conquer these different locations depending on what's currently at those locations. So, and we'll kind of go over that as well. So these are the different races you can choose from. You'll start out with 5 cash, so effectively you have 5 victory points at the start of the game. But you're also spending these in order to get new races and to obtain different locations here. So to start out with, you'll determine someone randomly. You can go by rolling a dice or just choosing someone or whichever you want to do. And then the first player here is going to choose one of the races here. And there's some different details we can go over with the different races here. They're going to have a couple different stats on it. First, you're going to have a number on the bottom here. This is how many tokens you get, plus the number of tokens here. With the halflings, the first 2 places that they conquer, they're going to get pretty much like these little hobbit hole things. And you put these little hobbit tokens down. And then, well, not quite hobbit, but kind of reminds you of like the little hobbit dwellings. But the halflings will then put those down. And the first 2 locations that they conquer are going to be immune to special abilities of other people and immune to conquering. So that makes them a little bit stronger as far as that. For example, you could just take 2 regions that would make it really hard for them to move east and west and to kind of go through your territory. So that might be a nice little benefit that they would have. They also get +1 money for every hill that they own. So any of these hill regions, they're going to gain 1 additional money, because normally you get 1 gold per location. So each of those locations will net you 2 gold instead. So that would be kind of what you could do with this one. And as I said, you have 4 on this side and 6 on this side, which means you'll have a total of 10 tokens with it. Then you have like the ghouls. You would get 5 tokens because of the mounted ability, and 5 because of the ghoul. The ghouls, even when they go into decline, which we'll go over more of that as well, they continue conquering. So that's their special ability. And then they have the mounted ability. Whenever they go across hills or farmland, it takes 1 less token to actually conquer it. So it makes it a little bit easier to conquer anything that is either hills or farmland. And so on and so forth. Like in this case, we have the Alchemist Amazons. The Alchemist gives them 4 tokens. Amazons start out with 6. And whenever they're attacking, they get +4 tokens, but they have to remove those at the end of the round. So in this case, they'll actually start out with 14 tokens whenever they're attacking, but then go back down to 10 whenever they're done with the attack itself. And this is going to keep going on. Each of these different races are going to have different abilities, and they actually include a really nice little chart on the back of these reference sheets here. I didn't really put much as far as expansions down. on this, even though we do have them within this game. That's why we have so many of the different races and abilities here. But in the base set, you're going to have 14 different races. Then you're going to have 20 different special powers. So there's quite a bit of variety depending on which races you get as compared to which powers are given. As I mentioned, you could end up with like Amazons that are underworld the next game, or they could become just wealthy, or they could be mounted Amazons, or your ghouls could be pillaging ghouls, or merchant ghouls, or heroic ghouls. And each of these are going to give you a different combination. And I won't say that they're all balanced necessarily, but they do offer you different things, and if you take advantage of them in a certain way, you can do quite a bit of damage really quickly. So, as I mentioned, the game is first started off by each player picking their particular race. Well, basically a combination of the race and special power here. And then once you've picked your particular race and special power, you're going to be handed a number of tokens equal to the numbers that are annotated on it. So, as an example, I can choose between these 6 different combinations here. You can take the one from the stack as well. However, the first one is free. The second one will cost you 1. So let's say if I wanted to buy the ghouls, I'd have to put 1 money on the halflings. What that kind of helps with is that if someone wants to take the halflings later, they're going to take all the money that's currently on it. So if you want to dig up here for one of these more powerful abilities, you'll have to make sure that it's definitely worth it. So for example, if I do the Tritons, the Underworld Tritons, I'll pay a gold here, pay a gold here, pay a gold here, and then I take this one here. So like in that case, that could be a little bit costly, or you could have just taken the halfling, and the halfling itself would have been free. So if I wanted to do that, that wouldn't have costed me anything. But as starting out, what I'm probably going to do is go ahead and grab these ghouls here as one of the players. So what we know here is that we get 5 because they're mounted, and we get 5 because they are ghouls. 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So at this point we have 10 ghouls. We do have to pay 1 gold because they were not on the bottom row. And at this point you're actually going to slide each of these downward. You'll take the one off the stack, you'll drop it down. As you take these off of the stacks here, you're going to get new abilities. So the game will continue doing that for quite a while. Now as I said, this is played over 10 rounds. And you have this little tracker here that you can keep track of that. So in the first round, I went ahead and bought the ghouls. At this point, I will proceed with my attacks. Now, I can attack from any point on the edge of the board. There are some exceptions. I believe it is flying. Flying gives you the ability to just kind of fly in there and land wherever you want. And I'm sure there's other abilities as well, but there will be different abilities like that that do give you the advantage of being able to break certain rules or to get extra bonuses. So right now we know that we have mounted ghouls, so it does take 1 less person to conquer hills and farmland. And there's a couple different ways we could take this. Now normally to conquer a territory, it's going to require 2 people. So for example, if I want to take this farmland here, if I didn't have this ability it would take 2, but because I have the ability it reduces by 1, so it only takes me 1 person to conquer here. Now for each of these people on it, because sometimes you'll have inhabitants, they're just kind of like, tribal people, they will increase it by 1. So it only takes me 1 here, but normally this would take me 3, but because it's a hill, it's going to take me 2 instead. The mountains will also add 1, as well as many of these other things. Like if I put down a fortress, that will also increase it by 1. And that's a special power that comes with one of the things. There's also these like mountain things. I believe that comes with either like the trolls or giants, if I remember correctly. So that is like the different things, and you just kind of play the tokens as you get them. So for example, if you are running a particular ability, you're going to be able to trigger them a certain amount of times, and that's that the reference card here is going to be really good about going over the specifics on that, because they don't really expect you to probably remember every one of these at the get-go, but it does help to kind of remind you like which ones are which, as far as being able to kind of determine what abilities it can do. And then the rulebook itself, it goes into a little bit more specific information if for some reason you don't understand the smaller notes on it. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and start my conquest. Because there's no one here, and it is a farmland, I'm going to conquer it for just 1. Normally it's 2, but because it's reduced by 1, it takes 1. This normally takes 3, but it is a hill. I will reduce by 1. I'll conquer that by putting 2 in there. I do not lose any of mine from conquest. And you can go ahead and just discard these generic guys somewhere else. In this particular case, I can go this way, conquer it for 2, or I can go conquer this way. So we'll go ahead and conquer this one, and remove him from the board. And then this one will take me 1, because it is a hill, and since I'm currently mounted. And unfortunately, I'm going to be starting to run out of tiles very soon. So my best bet, I may go towards this location here. It's going to take me 3 because it is not a hill or farmland. So it takes 2 initially, plus 1 because of the tribal person here. And then the last one, I don't have enough to actually conquer anything. However, as your very last action, you can also roll this dice to see if you conquer it. So in this case, I'll declare that I'm going to hit this one, but this is going to be your very last action. So if you don't conquer it, then you won't actually get it. But this is kind of, it kind of helps the possibility that you'll be able to. Now this one normally takes me 3, but because I'm mounted, it reduces by 1, so it'll take me 2. I need to get a 1 square on this dice. So to give you an idea of the number of sides on this, it's 6-sided. However, there is 3 blank sides, 1 side that has 1 black square, 1 side that has 2 black squares, and 1 side that has 3 black squares. So in this case, I have a 50-50 chance as to whether or not I'll conquer it. In this case, I did not. So I will gain this back. Now at the end of my turn, I get to redistribute the people that I have that are extra. I have to leave 1 in each space. And then I can drop these people wherever I would like to actually store them at. And I can use the one that wasn't able to conquer anything. Now at this point, normally your gold here will actually be secret. But for explanation purposes, I'm just keeping them out. Now the next player is going to look down here and see what they want to take next, because they now have to choose their race. So let's say we are going to go with the Alchemist. The Alchemist Amazons. They have to pay 1 gold to the Halflings because they bypass that one. Which is gradually going to make it a little bit better over the course of time. Let's say the race that you got with the ability you got was really, really bad. But let's say everybody keeps throwing gold on it. Eventually it might be good enough just to take it, just for the money. For no other purposes, but just the money. But it did cost them 1 gold to do that. So again, there would be disadvantage of taking something further in. Now with the Alchemist, they get +2 money per turn. So I'll go ahead and just take that money now. Oh yeah, I forgot to Also, we had to calculate the ghouls here. At the end of their round, they're going to get 1 gold per location that they have conquered. In this case, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they are going to get 5 money. They did spend 1 gold that round, but by the end of that particular race, they gained 5. So it was a pretty decent round. They could have did a little bit better, but unfortunately, they didn't quite get the roll there. But if they did spread out to like these other hills and farmland here, it's going to help them out quite a bit. So, all right. So now to go back to the next player's turn, they're going to get 6 plus 4 plus an extra 4. So they should be getting 14 people. Alright, so, and they also get plus 2 money per turn. So we'll go ahead and take that money now. Now at this point, they get to do their attack. They have quite a bit more people, so they are going to be able to run through a little bit more. However, the ghouls were able to get a little bit more benefit out of it because of the fact that they had the mounted part. It did allow them to kind of run through some of the territory at a little bit cheaper of a cost. Now, in my perspective here, what I would probably be looking at is if the ghouls manage to go this direction, they're going to have a pretty easy time running through all this. So either I can go for my own amount of territory where I just conquer this, or I can kind of slow them down in this section here. For demonstration purposes, we're going to definitely try to slow them down a little bit, just to kind of stop them from expanding quite as fast as they are. Since we already know we're going to get some money anyway, we'll just see what kind of damage we can do here. So normally it takes base 2 plus 1 because of the person here. So it's going to take us 3 people to take out this base. It is going to take another 3 people because we're going to go ahead and wipe out this ghoul. Whenever you conquer a territory, they automatically lose 1 of their people. If they had multiple, let's say if we attack this location here, they're going to lose 1, but the rest goes to their reserve. The reserve can be redistributed at the end of each round. So we did kill 1 of their ghouls. Yeah, again, since we're playing a 2-player game, it might just be helpful if we just did as much damage as possible. So we're going to send 3 this way to kill another 1 of their ghouls. And then we might grab some territory here. So we're going to take this one for 2 because there's nothing on it. And then we're going to take this one for 3 because it'll be 2 for the territory, 1 because there's a mountain on it. So that is the round for the Amazons. Now, they only get the plus 4, this additional plus 4, whenever they're attacking. So first thing first is we have to take off enough to put it back into the 4 plus supply. So we had to remove at least 4 of those. Now at this point I can redistribute any of these extras that I want however I choose. So I have 5 extra to kind of play around with here. Now there's a couple things that they could do. They're most likely going to come back this way because this will be easier for them to take, and they might try to expand this way, but that might be a little harder for them to do. So we will try to make it as costly as possible to do that. Now they could still expand this way or that way, so I mean there's a couple little options that they have here. Now at this point we're going to calculate money for this round. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 money. So the Amazons will gain 5. And there are different denominations of coins. You have 1, 3, 5, and 10. So it does help whenever you start getting a little bit further up in money. Now at this point the ghouls, they took a little bit of a hit. So they're going to go ahead and bring back all their extras. At the start of the round, you can take off everything but one on each of these. And these are going to pretty much be used for your next attack if you choose. Now, if I were to try to push forward, I don't have a whole lot of options here. It is going to take me 4 to hit this, which I currently only have 5. So I could take one territory, or I could take one territory here. This one takes 2 for the land, and they also have 4 more tokens here, so it's going to take 6. So 6 minus 1 because I'm mounted, so it would take me 5 to remove all these. So best case scenario, I may take one territory. I could go this way for 3, maybe roll a dice on this one and maybe get it, but that's not really a guarantee by any means. So option wise, it's probably not a very good situation to be in here. And also we did, we'll have to go ahead and move our turn marker up to 2, because this was the start of the next round. So at this point we're going to probably have to come up with another plan. The next thing we're going to do with the ghouls here is we're going to go ahead and throw them into decline. And how you do a decline is you flip over their ability here, or their race here, and what that does is it allows you to pick up another race. Now this will end your turn though, so it is something you have to strategically do. But the thing about it is that your race is going to gradually get weaker and weaker. So the balancing act of Small World is to get as much out of your race as possible before it has to go into decline. So once the ghouls go into decline, they will be not able to conquer anymore. Normally you would actually keep the tokens on them with the ghouls. Any other race that would normally go into decline would actually just flip over and go to 1. And we'll kind of explain that a little further because we'll probably end up running into that with the Amazons before too long. So normally if it were any other race but the ghouls, they are going to remove themselves down to 1. And this would be the normal setup for any other race but ghouls. So ghouls are probably the bad example as far as this goes. But they had a pretty bad first round, so we're going to go and throw them in a decline. Because the special power of the ghouls is just that when they go into decline, they continue to be effectively an active race. Active races are a little bit different in that they can continue to conquer, they can continue to move around to people, and they continue to have more than one per person, one per location. So at this point, you will now score the points equal to what you have on the table here. So you do score on anything that is inactive, regardless of your current race. So in this case, I will still get 3 money. So that is the ghouls. Now it goes back to the Amazons. They can now relocate as many as they want. And they get these 4 for the attack still. So now they have a couple different predicaments they can do. They can either go and try to wipe out as many of these ghouls as possible, just to try to finish them off. Hopefully they don't do anything, but that will spread themselves a little bit thin doing that. Or they can try to grab as much territory as possible just to get as much money as possible. I think in this particular scenario, we're probably going to go ahead and just expand. We did enough damage to the ghouls that I don't think we have to worry too much about it. In a 2-player game, it might be beneficial just to keep on the offensive, but you will spread yourself pretty thin doing that. And you won't get quite as much money out of it either. So we're going to drop 2 here. We're going to drop 2 here because of the land itself. It's going to take us 3 to conquer here. Remove the token there. And we'll do 2 to go there. So at this point, we now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 money for this round. We do have to put 4 back on the space here. 2, 3, 4. As you can see, there's not a whole lot of Amazons left, so if they want to expand, best case scenario, they get 1 more territory because 4 has to come back. And they're also spread really, really thin, so what they'll probably go ahead and do, we'll drop 1 here. That will end their turn. So they got their money. It will now go to round 3. They now get to pick a new race. You can have 2 races total per side. You can have 1 in decline. You can have 1 that's active. So in this case, we have a couple different options here. We can either grab these halflings, which are good with the hill locations. So you could go up this way, grab these 2 hills here, and get net yourself a little bit extra money. Tritons costs 1 less token anywhere that's adjacent to water. So this could help us do a little damage on this side here, and then we can also come through here and do a little more damage as well. Which actually seems like a really good option as far as trying to, get our edge back here. So what we might go ahead and do is pay 1 and grab these Tritons. And at this point we're going to get 6 Tritons plus 5. So we're going to get 11 on here. Alright, so we're at our 11 tokens here. We also pay 1 less for any location that has a underworld. And we can also travel between underworlds, which is also really useful as well. I'm trying to see if that will actually benefit us much, but I don't think it will. Because most of them aren't really near water, and the big thing that we're probably going to try to do here is do as much damage on the waterways as possible. Now we have the ghouls, they kind of are holding their own here. And because we do have the ghouls, actually, they do still act during the active phase. As I said, that normally does not happen with any other race. So what we're going to probably do is try to take the ghouls this way. Because what we're going to probably do with the Tritons is go in this way, and then just follow the water line around, and then come back to the water line here. And that'll be our goal there. So with the ghouls, we could probably just push further this way and cause a little damage. Just net us an extra gold or 2. So it's going to take us 3 here to kill this Amazon. They are removed from the game because you automatically always lose 1. And we're going to try to hit this one for 2. It costs 2 normally, 1 for the mountain, and then 1 for the Amazon. So it's going to take 4. So we get to roll this dice. Since it's the last action for that race, they will not be conquering it. So we can go ahead and redistribute the tokens here. We'll probably just spread ourselves a little bit. And now we get the Tritons. So the Tritons, as I mentioned, we're going to go ahead and probably go around the water here. So this one's going to take us 2, because it takes 2 for the land, 1 for Amazon, -1 because it's adjacent to water. So we'll go here, destroy this one. We're going to put 2 more here because it's adjacent to water, destroy this one. We're going to take 2 on this one, destroy this one, because again, adjacent to water. 2. So we can either go 3 on this way or 3 on this. We'll probably go 3 this way. We won't be able to use dice if we do that, which is fine. So we'll go ahead and wipe out this location, which will kill 1 because there's 2 at that location, and then 1 goes back to their stockpile, and they get to relocate that one. Now at this point, each player gets to relocate whatever they just added to their reserves. and as well as what's on the table here. So at this point I'll probably end up using my ghouls here as a little bit of a buffer, so I kind of weaken my center a little bit. And then the Amazon gets to relocate one of theirs because when I hit the one that had the 2 on it, they got to drop another for that. As you can see, they're not doing quite as well anymore, and that's why the new races, when they come in, can kind of stumble things, mess things up a little bit. In this particular case now, we'll actually get gold for both of these. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 gold. So this side here will now get 9 gold from that. And now, lastly, this one can make a lot of the same options. Either they can pursue the attack, which would be fine, like they can continue pushing forward. But as you can see, they're not really doing, they're only going to have 5 to play around with, and 4 of those come back to their hand at the end of the round. So the chance of them expanding very far is not going to be very likely, so normally they're going to probably decline as well. Now this is going to continue on, because we won't play out the entire game. And this is definitely just in a 2-player game, so it's a little bit smaller, a little bit quicker. So the balancing act of this game, as I mentioned, is going to be trying to determine when is a good time to decline, because you're always going to have to decline at some point. You're going to have to decide that maybe my race has taken enough damage that I really can't pursue it a whole lot further. And as you can see, the ghouls weren't doing particularly well after the first round because the Amazons just came in and wrecked everything that they've done. However, once they declined and the Tritons took over, they ran through and wiped out a lot of the stuff the Amazons did because of how far they spread out. Now the Amazons could have instead pushed further and hit the ghouls harder, but the ghouls didn't really do a lot of damage afterward anyway, since, But normally, as I said, when races decline, they usually just go down to the 1 token, and then they don't really do much after that. They just kind of collect coins at that point, so either you can go through and just wipe out some of their money that they're going to be getting each round, or you can just leave it be. Let's say if I were to decline again, though, let's say the Tritons decided that they can no longer expand further, you will get rid of your older faction. So let's say if I decline again, you can only have up to 1 declined faction and 1 active faction. There are rules that break that too, but that's specific abilities. So unless the ability specifies otherwise, you're only going to have 1 declined and 1 active at a time. The decline normally does not do anything, it just sits there. So let's say if I were to decline the Tritons right now, you're going to remove everything but 1 per space, and you flip them all over to their inactive side. And because I went inactive with the Tritons, it got rid of the ghouls. The ghouls are also removed from the board. So these are some things to take into consideration whenever you're going to decline as well. If your current declined civilization's still netting you a lot of gold because no one's bothered it, it might be beneficial just to wait it out and just keep collecting your money. Because in this case I'm only collecting 5 now, because when I declined them, these all disappeared. I'm no longer expanding, I lose my turn whenever I decline, and that's going to be the different options you can do with Small World. And the different options are endless. As I mentioned, there's like 20 different special powers just within a base set. And there are 3 or 4 expansions. There are 14 races in the base set, and there's quite a bit more races in the expansions as well. And that just adds a whole lot more options to it. And as I said, there's a lot of different little things you can add to the game as well, depending on your race. Sometimes you might get like bivouacking, which just makes it harder to conquer things. You can add castles with certain special powers. Like the special powers will make it 1 more difficult to conquer normally, but they're also worth 1 more gold whenever they're on the board. There's a flying dragon that automatically conquers something, and you cannot conquer the space with the dragon on it. And I mean, again, the different options are pretty much endless. It's a very casual game, easy for anyone to learn if they're not particularly big into gaming. It's actually a really good entry game for people that aren't, huge into gaming itself. But that's my how to play Small World. I hope you enjoyed the video. Definitely like and comment if you've enjoyed it. And we'll definitely be posting another video next week, so definitely watch either like Monday or Tuesday. There should be another one posted of how to play another game. Otherwise, thank you for watching Rundlii Gaming. You have a good day.